All staff for the U.S. Agency for International Development, also known as USAID, will be placed on leave just 2 days from today. The former head of the agency joins us now. Andrew Natsios served as the USAID administrator in the George W. Bush administration from 2001 to 2006. Andrew, thanks for being here. You have publicly criticized this decision. Tell us about your concerns.
Well, number one of our most powerful weapons, humanitarian weapons, in this period of great power competition is our foreign aid program. AID is one of the most respected aid institutions in the world. It's one of the most accountable. It was voted by a nonpartisan group that looks at the management of federal agencies from a purely technical standpoint. It ranked the third highest in the federal government. So these attacks on aid by Musk and his young men who are assisting him are complete nonsense. What they've done is to try to go through all the audits, find something somewhere that they can criticize. AID works in fragile states in the middle of civil wars where people are dying, people are starving to death, there are people in criminal organizations going after us. Some of the programs don't work under those circumstances. But the question is, do most of the programs work? And which ones are the most effective? First, we have an extensive program of health projects all over the world in the global south that give us advance warning of outbreaks of diseases that can come to the United States. There's an outbreak of Ebola right now in Uganda. There's a large AID mission with a lot of health officers there. It's the best line of defense we have to protect ourselves. There's a global supply chain for medical pharmaceuticals and for vaccines. There's a vaccine now against Ebola, and AID will be at the forefront if it existed. Doesn't exist anymore. They're about to send all of the staff home, shut all emissions down in 80 countries. 2/3 of the aid staff are not in Washington. They're out in the field. And most of them are people from the local country, by the way, who don't work for very high salaries, but who have advanced degrees, who are highly competent, worked for aid for years, know the country, know the language. And they're wonderful examples of American humanitarianism, but most importantly, to protect our interests and the interests of our friends. Okay. We also are one of the leading agencies in the world to deal with agriculture and food security. One of the things we know, the Arab Spring that took place, supposedly the Arab Spring, was actually driven by food price increases. And the Green Revolution in Asia was a third of the aid budget was expended to carry out this Green Revolution that used improved seed varieties, and it tripled food production. Mm-hmm. This is during the Cold War, the late 60s, early 70s. Well, President Obama, and I strongly supported, as did President Bush, proposed the same thing be done in Africa now, and there's a big program to increase agricultural production in Africa. These programs are in our interest and their interest.
You've just outlined many, many examples of how you believe this agency does good work across the globe. I want to pull up a tweet or X post from Elon Musk, if we can show that on the screen. It says, USAID is a criminal organization. Time for it to die. So we just listened to you outline all of these positives about USAID. Then you have the richest man in the world saying it's a criminal organization. Time for it to die. Before reacting just to this statement, help us understand, why is there such antagonism towards USAID beyond Musk on the right? And what's your reaction to how to deal with that? Where does it come from? And beyond just listing the positives, how does USAID and its supportive community actually deal with this razor-sharp criticism from one of the most powerful people in the world?
Monk has a company named Skylink, and AID was investigating it for, apparently they were doing an audit of it. He was very angry about it. This precedes all this. Long before Trump was elected president. And I think some of the animus comes from that. He does not like being investigated. Number two, the administration needs to cut the budget. They won't touch the entitlement programs, which are what's causing the budget deficits that are out of control, that are damaging the economy and the country. This debt that we have, in my view, is the number one crisis facing the country. But he won't cut the entitlement programs because it affects his base. It's easy to cut foreign aid because the people who get the benefit of it directly are people in the global south who don't vote. That's why they did it. And they've also grossly exaggerated how much money. They say it's 80 billion. It's not $80 billion. It's $38 billion. Let's get the statistics right. And a large portion of that, 55% of that, is humanitarian assistance in famines and civil wars and emergencies like earthquakes. And the rest, the other part of that is health programs, immunizing children against disease, dealing with HIV/AIDS, that we've saved 25 million people's lives through President Bush's PEPFAR program. Are you telling me we should let all those people die? Because if they don't have antiretrovirals, they will die of AIDS. These are people who are already infected. So I have to say, I think this is a lot of garbage. The notion that it's a criminal organization is a bold-faced lie. And I ran the agency for 5 years. I've run 7 institutions over the last 45 years. AID officers are the best managers and some of the most honorable people I've met. We lost 650 people in Afghanistan and in Iraq who were murdered by the Taliban or by the militias in Iraq. There are heroes. Attacking them and calling them criminals is absolutely outrageous. They should be treated the same way our troops are. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel in the reserves. I served in the first Gulf War, and I see aid work in the same category as officers and enlisted people in the military.
Andrew, we appreciate you coming on to share that perspective, and thank you for your time. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.